there is a brief and memorable exchange between Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson in the movie A Few Good Men. They're in a courtroom, and Cruise is interrogating Nicholson, and the exchange gets quite heated.
I want answers. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I don't think that part was in the movie. That courtroom scene, in a sense, is a replication of the scene you just heard in the gospel story. What Jesus knew in this courtroom scene, in that heated exchange between Pilate and himself, is what Nicholson knew in that exchange. Jesus knew that Pilate could not handle the truth. Tell me, does he look at us tonight and know the same thing about us? That we, you and I, cannot handle the truth. The truth of our existence, of why we're here, the truth of who we are and who God is, the truth of the world we share together. Because existence, reality, is always bearing witness to its own truth, as are we. I am utterly and personally convinced that the reason so many of us are so busy is because we find it almost impossible to be alone, to go for long walks by ourselves, to just come sit here in chapel in the middle of the night by ourselves and spend a significant amount of time alone with ourselves. Because we're afraid. We're afraid of the silence and the solitude for what it confronts in us, about us. I asked a young mom just 2 days ago. I said, why do you think we find it so hard to be honest with ourselves, about ourselves? Her response, if I am honest with myself, I will have to take responsibility for that in me. And I don't want to do that. I might add, neither do we. And so we go on. We go on in our addictions, pushing people away over and over and over again, and think it's their fault that we're hurt. It's their fault that we're so unhappy. And we just keep drinking ourselves to death until someone or something finally brings it home to us that we need help. And so we go on. We go on oblivious to our own biases, politically, personally, our own biases that keep us from the whole truth. We want the truth about ourselves, but we also don't. We really just want people to make us feel good about ourselves all the time. not challenging us on our destructive behaviors or our sense of humor that keeps hurting people or our lack of depth and our lack of vulnerability and our sin. We don't want people to tell us that. Is the reason we can't handle the truth because I don't want to work on it? I don't want to do that work and I'm just fundamentally lazy? Well, maybe that's what I need to admit to myself then. That I don't care about myself enough to do that, to be more honest with myself. Is the reason that if I really start thinking about all this stuff, I'm going to lose my happiness, or what's left of my happiness, and my ability to dance through life like nothing's wrong with me, or with the world, or with you? Well, it will hurt, and it will be a ton of work, to be honest about it all. But to exchange our naive happiness for a deeper and more abiding joy is so worth it. It's so worth it. If I'm one of those that comes out of that tendency to put myself down, to get too down on myself, and I'm deeply afraid that if I'm totally honest with me about me, it might just be too much for me, then I have something to tell you. I have something really, really important to tell you tonight. That after 32 years in the ministry, there is nothing you can realize about yourself that will destroy you. There is nothing you can ever realize about yourself that will destroy you. Not admitting it to yourself can destroy you and every love in your life with you. The deepest truth is that truth will set us free. That's why. Because the deepest truth is that truth will set you free. That's not a pious platitude. And we dare not grow numb to how true that is, because we've heard it since we were kids. Because it's true. Believing that, trusting that, can be really hard sometimes. It might mean for me now taking some of those long walks alone, or coming sitting here in the night alone. It might mean asking my friends, or your spouses someday, or your kids someday, how can I love you better? What can I work on to be happier? It takes a lot of guts to ask that question, because you might hear an answer that's going to unsettle you. But the answer could also set you free. How could we not? Advent's coming this Sunday, a week from today. Maybe it's a good time for us to start doing more of this. Sitting alone, walking alone, thinking a bit more about stuff. Believing that, trusting it, also means sometimes telling other people the truth. I do appointments a lot in a day. And my ongoing struggle in every single appointment and every single friendship, I got to tell you, and really every conversation, is if I'm really concerned or a concern emerges, do I say something? When do I say it? Is it an okay time? Will they hear it? Are they just going to get mad at me? Are they going to blow up? But I can't not say it if it's a real concern. Can I? Can you? If we really care? And if I'm truly convinced that this truth will help set them free too, and I know how good that is. I have been a privileged witness here at the CSC to the process of coming out for many of our students over the years. Students realizing to themselves their same-sex attractions, and then trying to figure out what it means. It's nothing less than heroic. And then the struggle to figure out who to be that honest with, and when and where do they feel safe enough to do that, to share this. Unbelievably powerful. I am so moved by those in this community who have made that courageous journey to first admit the truth to themselves, and that might even be the hardest part, and then to someone else, and that they would invite us into that. Many of you here tonight. Thank you. Thank you. They have helped me see again and again in their own story what Jesus identified in this gospel tonight as the very reason he even existed: to testify to the truth, he said. To testify to the truth. What I am proposing is that the truth about ourselves and our world is indeed hard to bear, and so freeing. To come to terms with the light and the dark in me, to come to terms with the light and the dark in you, to come to terms with the light and the dark in the world, to come to terms with the light and the dark in our church. No matter how unsettling or demanding that truth might be, and maybe even mustering the courage to share that with someone, whether it's in counseling or in confession or in a trusted friendship. It's just so liberating. And so I ask you tonight, and I ask myself the same question in Jesus' heart to Pilate in that courtroom scene. Because I think the question still stands. Can I even handle the truth?